Welcome to Ben TV on Channel 31. My name's David McCarthy and you're watching Face to Face. Tonight I have the pleasure of Nan McGregor as my guest, President of PFLAG, who has just announced her retirement. Welcome, Nan.
Oh, thank you, David. And I guess that sort of puts me in the classification of yesterday's person, doesn't it?
No, you're a continuing community icon.
Oh, you're very kind.
So, PFLAG, when did you start? When did it start in Australia and when did you start?
Well, it started in Australia in the 1980s and it started in Perth, and then it sort of travelled across the country to New South Wales, and the first Victorian ones were, first Melbourne ones were again in the early 80s, and once people had got what they were looking for, the groups sort of folded away, and I went to my very first PFLAG meeting in June 1993 at Kieran's demand, I guess, more than anything else, because I was driving him mad, because I needed to know, I needed answers to questions. So he sent me along there, and it was in a very, very embryonic stage, and did a workshop and came out all enthused. And I thought, it's not going to die, not while I'm around.
So, I suppose you've been president for how long now?
As soon as we incorporated in 1994, it was my first brush.
First brush with
I wasn't going to say fame, but being president, being the boss lady.
Yeah. So, I mean, PFLAG has a history internationally as well, doesn't it?
Very much so. It's significant that when the founding mother of PFLAG in the United States marched in Christopher Street Day Pride March, it was 1972, and that was the year our sons were born, so how's that for coincidence?
Well, it was also the year I came out.
Oh, well, there you go. What a trifecta.
It was. Now, in terms of PFLAG doesn't get any government funding, does it?
None at all. No, nothing.
So how do you raise funds?
Through our subscriptions, our membership fees. Some people very kindly add little bits to their subs, which gives us a bit of a boost. We maintain the good old Aussie tradition of not a chook raffle, but a raffle at every meeting. And I've earned a little bit of money for the group through public speaking. And I guess the best and most that we ever raised was through a pink hat, pink bow tie dinner last October, I think it was.
Okay.
And that was very productive financially.
Now, one of the focuses of PFLAG has been to break down the barriers between parents and kids, and that's been a particularly difficult one, I suppose.
Oh gosh, yes.
How did you approach it yourself? I mean, you said that Kieran forced you to go along.
And that was 6 months after he came out, and I thought I was doing very, very well. I thought I was very much in control. I thought I didn't need any assistance, but I had no idea how horrible I was being, especially to him. And he said, look, you better go. It's for parents, Mum. So being a good, obedient little mum, I went. And John had to drive me there because, as you know, I don't drive a car. And it was at Kew Community House. It was absolutely bucketing down with rain and storming and a hideous night to be out. And we got halfway there and I said, I don't want to go here. I really do not want to go to this place. And he said to me, and can I be allowed to swear?
Absolutely.
Good, terrific. He said, well, you bloody well are going. So I did.
Get out of the car.
No, that was Kieran, get out of the car, Mum. But I've missed very, very few meetings in that time.
3, I think.
About 3, yeah. One was John's birthday, and I didn't dare go to PFLAG on his birthday night. Once was when I was overseas, and the third time was a friend of ours had a 70th birthday. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, in the early days, obviously, before law reform, really kicked in, it must have been pretty difficult in terms of, I suppose, people were afraid to come to meetings or didn't want to come to meetings, or they only come to a couple of meetings?
Yeah, they still do that. There's still people who will only come to a couple of meetings. And our meetings are very confidential. We only use our given names, we don't use surnames at all, and we're very particular about keeping our records confidential. So there is really no stigma attached in it. I think there's a lot of pride in being a PFLAG parent. Even Debbie Novotny with I'm a PFLAG mom.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think we have fulfilled our charter if people have got the support, even if that support only takes 2 or 3 meetings for them to obtain, that we've done what we set out to do. If they are happy, if we've opened the hearts and the minds and done all those wonderful highfalutin sounding things, I think we've been a success.
Now with you'll think back with fond memories, I hope, of the same-sex relationships, Bill.
Oh yes, how could I forget that night?
What was a couple of the highs and the lows of the lobbying for that?
I think, heavens, the adrenaline rush, probably from knowing that what we were doing was within our reach. And it was very, very personal for me and for John, because the Kieran and Tim had a commitment ceremony, and the promises that they made to each other were very similar, that we'd made to each other 40 years prior, and that our daughter Fiona and her husband had exchanged. But Kieran and Tim's commitment to each other and their expressed desire to grow old together and do all of those wonderful things had no legal legitimacy. And I think that that was why I was so overjoyed when it went through, and I shall never forget that night. Not for the least reason that we haven't been out so late for years.
I recall on that back balcony at Parliament House getting into the Terps, and that was
we had a couple of sips and we got home in time to put the garbage bins out.
Because we used to joke with politicians that if they didn't agree with us, we'd set Nan on them. We'd send Nan round to put the frighteners on.
The Rottweiler.
Because I think, as been reported in the press this week, that whilst, all of us can, gays and lesbians, we can lobby for law reform, but that you as you call yourself the Glen Waverley Nana, that ability to, I suppose, confront people with themselves, because they see, as parents, they see you as a parent.
Yeah.
Do you think it's really that powerful?
Well, I would hope so. I would hope that a lot more parents are willing to get out there and fight, because whilst we love and accept our non-heterosexual kids, you cannot separate that love from the willingness and the desire to get out and make the world a better place. And I think that that's one of the things on which PFLAG stands, that we fight for the rights of our non-heterosexual kids. Now, we didn't treat any of our 4 children differently, so why should Kieran be excluded from all the rights and all the benefits that the other 3 have? And we certainly don't love him any the less, because he's not the same as us.
Well, I suppose we're 90% there in terms of law reform.
Yeah, there's still a lot of horrible people there that need to be told. Maybe you can set me on it.
Yes. Well, I mean, we did have, I suppose, in the lower house, we had the situation of one Liberal member, Robert Clark from Box Hill, voting against it, and the Nationals voting against it.
Yeah,
but
it's a bit pathetic, isn't it? Yeah.
It was disappointing, but that night that it happened, was there, I remember feeling an adrenaline rush as the vote was.
Yes, it was, I suppose it was almost like giving birth, because there's been all that build-up, there's been all this waiting, and you're poised there, and then bingo!
Yeah, and the morning sickness.
But it was an amazing. I think we hugged each other and danced around.
Got
and
told off by the speaker for making a noise.
And told to sit down. And there were a few things that made the smoke literally come out of my ears.
Yes.
And I felt like standing up and yelling out bollocks, but I didn't.
Now, how many members Australia-wide would PFLAG have?
Oh, look, I really don't know because we're not a federation, not like the United States, where each state has its own individual groups. And we did talk about federating. Oh, we were going to do it in the year 2000. Well, it's never been done. And I guess it's because we've been too busy doing the other things that we've done.
Exactly. Well, in Victoria, how many parents have, I suppose, passed through PFLAG over the years that you've been associated?
Hundreds.
Hundreds?
Hundreds, yes.
And have there been any, for you, what's been the most emotional moment in terms of helping those parents?
When we hear back how well things have gone for the young person coming out, but then there have been some rather upsetting times too. And I remember one particular time when the phone used to live at our house, and we always had difficulty getting people to take the roster, or if people were away, I always filled in, and I was in bed with the flu and I felt like something the dog had dragged in. And I got out of bed to answer the PFLAG phone, and there was this woman, and she launched into this tirade about her son. And she said, I used to have 3 daughters and a son. She said, now I've still got 3 daughters, but there's this thing. And I lost it. I just couldn't deal with that. And unfortunately, we have never had anybody to debrief us after those sorts of calls.
Yeah.
So. And it was just awful, just hearing the hate and the viciousness in that woman's voice. And she was talking about her own child, and he'd been perfectly all right up until the time he'd come out. She loved him.
Yeah.
But there were conditions on that love.
Yeah. All right, well, look, we're going to go to a break now. After the break, we're going to put your husband and you, John, both on the same couch for the show to give John a bit of a public outing. So we'll be back after the break, and thanks for watching Face to Face. You're on Bent TV. And welcome back to Face to Face. I'm David McCarthy. Tonight I'm joined by Nan McGregor and John McGregor. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
Now, in terms of PFLAG, Nan's been the front woman.
Indeed.
But behind the scenes, you've played quite an important role.
Oh, I'm always there to support her. I mean, if I was there alongside her, she mightn't have flowered as much as she has.
Right. For you, John, how you've had to, I suppose, manage the business that you and Nan have run for many years. For you, what's been one of the high points in terms of your family's involvement in PFLAG?
Going to Sydney for the Mardi Gras. Nan was the keynote speaker.
Yes.
At the opening of Mardi Gras the year before last.
Now, do you reckon we're going to see a Nan float?
Oh, I don't know.
I reckon there could be a Nan float.
There's everything possible.
There's been an Imelda flight. I haven't got that many shoes.
You were trying at one stage.
In terms of PFLAG, John, I mean, bringing, supporting Nan and supporting Kieran,
yes.
Has there been a downside for that in terms of, friends and people that you've known over the years? I know that, you've been estranged from your original church a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yes, we were very involved in our own local church. Nan was pretty good with the pen and could write the liturgies, particularly for the Christmas and the Easter services. And we, after Kieran came out, and we still attended that church, they were pretty cool towards us. and they were really ice cool when we started with the rainbow flash. That was a sash. The rainbow sash across us, and we went to the cathedral and so forth. And one night, just before Christmas, we were in David Jones, I think it was, and we met one of the local heavies, and she said, well, it was time for you to move on anyway, wasn't it? Oh, talk about a slap across the face. That really...
Bit of a franchise.
That was a real downer, and I thought, well, that's the sort of people they are. We won't darken their doorsteps again.
It was selective. It was selective love in a way on their part, I suppose.
Indeed it was. I mean, yeah, that was very traumatic, the rainbow sash.
And still is.
Oh, every time you do it. I mean, and I'd written letters to the Archbishop, the new Archbishop, Dennis Hart, and got a reply, but it was always along the party lines.
Yeah.
But we'll still push on and try and break down the barriers, because the gay and lesbian LGBT community are no different to the rest of the community. It's just the sexual orientation, and I mean, they can't get their heads around that.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, we're all God's work, aren't we?
We are indeed.
Yeah.
That is exactly right. Why would God create something that wasn't perfect?
Exactly.
Indeed, and I mean, that's where I was coming from about the rainbow sash. And when the other bit came along, as Nan spoke of before, about the same-sex relationship bill, I mean, that was a fabulous night.
Wasn't it?
I mean, even to see that Gordon, I forget his name.
From Bayswater.
Ashley.
Yes, he did, yeah.
He had a brother-in-law, I think, who was gay. And he had the same sort of circumstances, and he related to it. And when they relate to it, it's amazing how the mind change comes along.
Exactly. Well, I think that, you know, the image of you and Nan as, in a way, ambassadors for our community has rattled a few cages. I'm sure Neil Mitchell
Mr. Mitchell
Mr.
McCarthy
didn't realise what an opponent he was up against. What was that? How did you feel doing that interview, Nan? Was it hard work?
Oh, heavens, yes. I had a very watery stomach. I thought my mouth was dry, my stomach was turning over, and I thought any minute now I'm going to be sick right down the phone. But I had to stay cool, and I had to stay reasonably calm, and I got off the phone and stamped my feet and said a few swear words, but it was all about taxpayers' money. I mean, they get so precious about taxpayers' money. For heaven's sake, your tax... Yeah.
Indeed.
I was not aware that the gay and lesbian community is exempt from paying taxes, nor are their parents, so it was just a little bit of our money coming back. And...
Nan played him in his own game.
Yes.
Basically.
Well, I was polite.
Oh, you were.
I was more polite.
You were very polite.
Because he's always made it a particular issue for him as that you know, PFLAG and that the gay and lesbian community that we're out of step with everyone else. But you've shown that that's not actually the case. That,
thank you.
You know, that parents and friends of lesbians and gays has been very important to our community. I don't think there's one person that I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks that has had anything but glowing words to say about, you know, the work that you two have done.
I think that at that time, Nan saying what she did to Neil Mitchell and getting the audience that did, I think it was sort of pushed the organisation ahead and pushed some of the barriers will never be pushed down, but it did forge a little way along the road. And I think they've got a bit more respect, and those sort of guys, those radio jocks, shock jocks, who think they can push people around because they're different.
Well, they operate in a bit of a vacuum.
I
don't
think
they?
bullies. That's
bullies,
the
pure and
only way
simple.
to treat bullies is to stand up to them.
Now, one of the great successes with PFLAG has been -18.
Yes.
And that has certainly enabled young kids, to come out in a safe environment.
Yes.
I suppose having the support of PFLAG has made a huge difference there, hasn't it?
Very definitely. I think it's like seeing our children grow and develop, and I think they were given responsibility, they grasped that responsibility, and they've gone on to great things. They had the biggest -18 ever last Tuesday night. They had 248 kids there, and that's an enormous...
Paying customers.
Paying customers.
And that's most important, the paying customers. But, the young people that are there, it augurs well for the future of Gunnersbury, Melbourne.
Now, you made a decision a while ago to step down.
Yes.
And you've now been able to put that in place. You're
Yes.
staying on as Vice President.
Yes, I
Who's the
will.
new President?
The new President is Jeff Jealous, and it's good to have a dad there, and he'll do a wonderful job. He's been a great support to me in the last year, and he's very thorough in what he does, and he's very proud of his son. He was one of our speakers at our Coming Out Day seminar last October, and he'll do a really, really good job. And I think it was essential for the health and the continuation of the group that I did step down, that I didn't die in harness and there was nobody there. And I'm not dead, I was still very much alive. But it was very, very important to maintain a healthy, vibrant group for me to go.
There's been some taxing times, obviously,
There have,
over the
yeah.
years. The work associated with the Relationships Bill and
Yes.
and some recent events that unfortunately have garnered some bad publicity for the organisation.
Well, that was the last point that you made has been extremely and profoundly affecting. It affected my health and my state of mind, and lots of sleepless nights, and it has had a quite significant toll on me, and I think the family is sick of hearing about it as well.
Whilst we can't talk about it specifically
course
because the matter is before the courts, but it's the impact that's had on PFLAG as an organisation and -18. That will be weathered, you feel, over time?
I think so, and -18 has flourished because the young people seized the initiative. As far as PFLAG are concerned, there are still a number of people who were very reluctant to even go down that path and would like to see us return to solely supporting parents, and if that's the way it goes, so be it. But I'm glad that I forged ahead, and I was very, very strong that the kids needed support. Now, that they had to have a safe place, that they couldn't just go to a straight nightclub they could get their heads knocked in. They needed to be safe, they needed to, even if they were not out for that one night, they could be. And, I'm very, very proud of what -18 is, but I'm also very, very proud of the young conveners and their plans for the future, and I think that they're to be congratulated. I'm very proud to have known them.
Yeah. Nan and I have been to a few of them.
Yours is deafening, but...
Well, yes, right. We've looked in and saw all the things they'd organised. Melinda Edwards, the police liaison officers there.
Yep.
And they have a social worker. And I mean, the kids enjoy themselves because it's a safe place.
Well, I've had the pleasure of going to one, and certainly I wish something like that had been around when I came.
And we've heard that so often,
yes.
And that's why I think it's vital that it continues.
Yep.
Indeed, it is.
All right. Well, look, unfortunately we are running out of time, but as much as I can, I want to thank you, Nan, and you, John, for the very, very hard work you've done.
Nan's done all the work. I've just been there behind. And
on behalf of our community and on behalf of the kids in our community, without an organisation such as PFLAG, I don't think we would have had the law reform that we've had before. So thank you.
Thank you, David.
And thank you for watching Face to Face on Bent TV.